Hey guys, so I've already got 2 videos up on this subject matter, but I don't believe I've totally explained exactly what's going on with how to solve the problem that you're probably currently having. What was going on for me is getting the battery light coming on. Constantly and or staying on, and also the voltage dropping. You know, you start the engine up and the voltage is sitting at like 14.2, 3 or whatever, and then after you drive for a little bit, it drops down to like 12.5. And so you're probably done the big 3. You've added possibly added a second alternator, probably upgraded the alternator, added more batteries, all of these things. And the vehicle just chooses to do this funky charging thing. And you'll find this is common on a lot of vehicles now. What it all boils down to is the manufacturer trying to get the lowest possible fuel usage or the highest MPGs. And so they have the alternator basically turn off in stages, turn down whenever the battery is at a certain percentage. And then if the vehicle senses more amp draw on the battery and the voltage is dropping, it'll actually start charging and putting out more power to balance that out. So there's essentially 2 things that the computer is looking for to make the judgment on how to charge the vehicle. One is how much voltage is available and what that current state of that voltage is. There's actually 3 things. The second one is how much amperage is being pulled from the battery, because that represents how much draw is on the vehicle. And the third thing is if you've got certain devices on in your vehicle, like I don't remember for sure, but if you've got it in tow haul mode, or if you've got a certain number of accessories running, headlights, wipers, and stuff like that, there's certain elements that when you turn them on will make it default into going to maximum charge. Okay, on your vehicle, on your ground cable, you will have a device that looks like this thing. Where is it at? Can you see it? This thing right here. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I'm going to try to get a shot of it. This round thing goes around your ground cable. So what I did, as you can see, I have it going around my ground cable. I made my own ground cable, and it goes to the ground on my battery, and then it goes through the device and goes down to the bolt where the original one connected. Okay, that's important, really important. Let me put my charge wire back on here. There we go. Yeah, it's still charging. Okay, that's really important. That tells the computer that set amount of current is leaving the battery. So this being the position and the wired up to the stock alternator hookup, it's actually an aftermarket alternator. This is a 300 amp alternator, and this one is, and it's got the factory plug right there, and it will tell this guy to go ahead and charge more because it sees the current that you're pulling from that going to the amplifier. It'll tell it to go ahead and charge more to replace that current loss. This alternator is what you call a 1-wire alternator. This is another way of solving that problem. This one hooks up with, like in the namesake, 1 wire. Right there, running over. That 1 wire tells it to turn on, and it turns on when the key's on, turns off when the key's off, and it always charges at like 14.3 or 14.4 volts all the time. So this is the second way of solving the problem. But if you've got this on here and you don't have that yoke, that amperage yoke going around that ground wire over there, and it's pulling current from batteries elsewhere, it won't operate properly, and the light will kick on. So the trick is to use a large, and from what I've found, this is an alt gauge and there's a ton of room left in there. You can probably fit a double alt gauge wire through that yoke. So what you do is you run your double alt through that yoke, and then once you go through the yoke and hit the block, you can just pick up anywhere off the block or off of the alternator bracket or anywhere and run as much alternator ground wires as you want back to your amplifiers. But if you've got batteries back there and you want to put them in the circuit, you do not want to connect them to that. You want them to connect before the yoke. So in other words, you want all of your grounds from your batteries to go from the batteries and then straight through the yoke before they go to anything else. You don't want it to go to the body or the chassis or anywhere. You want it to go through this yoke first. So all your grounds have to go through the one cable that you've got run through that yoke. Now, at least on the battery side. Now, once you go through the yoke, you can run grounds however you want to. Like I said, you can run as many as you want from your alternator brackets, like myself over here. These here are black cables coming off of here. These are running straight back to the back to my amplifiers. So you can run as much of that as you want, but wherever you have batteries at, the batteries all need to ground before that yoke, or after, yeah, before the yokes. They all, basically wherever you have the yoke, in this case it's right here, you have to have your grounds from all your other batteries come up here and go to the same connection as the one that goes through the yoke, and all their grounds have to go through that yoke. So if you're doing this kind of system, you're limited to how much power you can run through this cable that runs through that yoke. Okay, and also the runs. You got to run ground wires from wherever the battery's at all the way up here and then connect them here, so that the only ground they can get to is on the other side of the yoke. That's important. Now there's a second option. The second option for the same problem is to split up your alternators. Now you notice I have mine on the same connection. These wires are connecting the tops of both these alternators. If I take these two guys off and I let this alternator just handle the vehicle's needs, and this one comes out of the circuit completely, and let's say I've got this alternator with this power not connected to the other alternator, just this alternator, and I can put a bank of batteries and whatever I want back there, and I don't have to worry about any of this other stuff. It's all going to stay stock. So I can do that. I can have as many batteries as I want because the truck doesn't see that alternator and it doesn't see those batteries back there, so it does not care what's going on back there. If it can see any of that power or any moving around and it's not moving around the way it's expecting it to, it's not going to operate properly. So that's the key. You can split them up. You can run one as a vehicle alternator and a vehicle charging system with its own battery, the little loop and all the stuff, and then run the separate for the back. Or you can route all your grounds through the one that goes through the yoke. So the only way those batteries can get to ground is by going through the amperage yoke. And it's a little trickier to wire it, but there's a benefit to it is you get to put both alternators in the circuit. And right now I've got a 300 amp alternator there and a 370 amp alternator there. So I've got 670 amps of charging power that I can bring to the game. I don't have a lot of battery. All the battery in the whole vehicle is these two guys right here. That's it. That's all the batteries I have in here. And I'm running an 8,000 watt amp back there. But it does the job. So, I mean, honestly, you're getting most of your power from the alternator anyway. You know, you're not relying on your batteries to provide you power. They can only do that for a few seconds and then they're drained. The alternator is where the power's coming from. So this doesn't have to carry a whole lot of current for very long. So you don't really need that much. If you want to add more reserve, I mean, honestly, I've got 1600 cranking amps right here. I could do another 1600 over there and have all of my batteries in the front of the vehicle and have them all running through a double alt gauge from here or from over there, running over here and going through the harness down to the block. It's not that hard. Anyway, that is the trick to sorting out this charging issue that you're experiencing. You've got to go take your ground through the loop and or separate the two different charging systems. Pick your poison. Both will work. Anyway, guys, peace.